The day he came back, the sky looked darker than usual, as if it already knew something I didn't. I had spent 3 long years dreaming of this moment, counting down every day until my husband returned. But when he finally did, he wasn't alone. Standing beside him was a woman holding a little boy, and both of them called him Dad. Before I begin, make sure to like, subscribe, hit the bell icon, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Now, let me tell you how everything I believed in shattered in a single afternoon. My name is Barbara, and this is the story of the day my whole world changed. For 3 years, I lived like a shadow waiting for the sun. My husband, Ethan, had left to work overseas. He promised it was temporary, just long enough for us to save enough money to build a home and start a family. Every call, every message, every photo he sent made me believe he was working hard for our future. I trusted him with all my heart. The day he was supposed to return, I woke up early, nervous and excited. I cleaned the entire house, prepared his favorite meal, and even wore the blue dress he loved. I wanted everything to be perfect, because in my head, this was the day our love story would finally continue where it left off. When I heard the sound of a car pulling into the driveway, my heart skipped a beat. I rushed to the door, smiling so wide my cheeks hurt. But the moment I opened it, my smile froze. Ethan stood there, but his expression was blank. He looked older, colder, and distant. And right beside him was a woman, maybe in her late 20s, holding a little boy who couldn't have been more than 2 years old. The child had Ethan's eyes. For a few seconds, I couldn't breathe. My mind refused to accept what I was seeing. Maybe they were just friends. Maybe he was helping her. Maybe this was some misunderstanding. But then the boy looked up at Ethan and said softly, "Daddy, can I go inside?" My whole body went cold. Ethan didn't say a word. He just nodded and told them to come in, like this was their home. I stood frozen at the doorway, unable to move or speak. The woman gave me a polite smile, as if she was meeting a stranger. I stepped aside, numb, watching as they entered my home. The boy ran to the couch, laughing, playing with Ethan's old photo frame, the one from our wedding. I wanted to scream. I wanted to cry. But I couldn't do either. I just stood there staring at the man who once promised me forever. "Ethan," I finally whispered. "What is going on? Who are they?" He sighed deeply, looking everywhere but at me. "Barbara, please, let's talk calmly. This is complicated." Complicated. That word hit me harder than any truth could, because deep down, I already knew the answer. The woman, her name was Lena, sat quietly holding her son close. She didn't say much, but I could tell from her eyes that she knew exactly who I was. Ethan finally spoke. "While I was away, things happened. I made mistakes. I didn't plan for this, but I can't deny my responsibility anymore. This is my son." The words echoed in my ears. My son. I felt the ground slipping away beneath me. My knees almost gave out, but I held onto the table to steady myself. My vision blurred, and I realized I was trembling. I couldn't even find anger at that moment, just disbelief. You had a child. You betrayed me." He didn't answer. He just looked at me with guilt in his eyes. The kind of guilt that only comes when someone knows they've destroyed something pure. I turned to Lena. "And you? You knew he was married." She lowered her eyes. "I knew, but he told me your marriage was over, that you weren't together anymore." A bitter laugh escaped my lips. Over? He was still calling me every night, sending gifts, telling me how much he missed me. Ethan closed his eyes, whispering, Barbara, I didn't mean to hurt you. I thought I could fix this before coming back, but I couldn't leave them behind. Fix this? I said, almost shouting. You think you can fix 3 years of lies? Silence filled the room. Even the child had stopped playing, watching us with innocent curiosity. That night, I couldn't sleep. I stayed awake, staring at the ceiling, replaying every moment of the past 3 years in my head. Every message, every call, every promise. How could he have lived a double life while I waited like a fool? At around midnight, I heard quiet voices in the living room. Ethan and Lena were talking. I couldn't make out the words, but I could hear the tone. Soft, familiar. The same tone he once used with me. Tears rolled down my face. I grabbed a pillow to muffle my sobs. I didn't want them to hear me breaking apart. When morning came, I pretended to sleep as Ethan came into the room. He stood there for a moment, maybe to see if I was awake, then quietly left again. I finally got up, my head heavy from the sleepless night. In the mirror, I barely recognized myself. Eyes swollen, face pale. I walked to the kitchen and saw Lena making breakfast. She smiled awkwardly, trying to act polite. The little boy sat at the table, giggling as Ethan helped him eat. Something inside me snapped. Not in anger, but in resolve. I realized I couldn't let them take over my home and my life as if I didn't exist. So I walked in calmly, my voice steady. Ethan, we need to talk. Alone. He nodded, leading me outside to the porch. The morning air was cold, but my heart was colder. I said, tell me, what do you want from me now? Do you want me to disappear so you can play family with them? He looked torn. No, Barbara, I still care about you. I just don't know what to do. I can't abandon my child, and I don't want to lose you either. I shook my head. You already did. For the first time, he had no words, just silence. The rest of the day passed in painful stillness. Every corner of the house felt different now, haunted by betrayal. I could hear the child's laughter echoing through the halls that once belonged to our dreams. That night, I went into the guest room, locked the door, and sat on the floor. I didn't cry anymore. My tears had run out, but I made a promise to myself right there. I wouldn't let this story end in silence. Because if he thought he could break me and move on like nothing happened, he was wrong. That night, Barbara fell asleep with a storm brewing quietly inside her heart. A storm that would change everything in the days to come. That night, I finally fell asleep, with tears dried on my pillow. My heart was heavy. But somewhere beneath the pain, a quiet storm had started brewing. When I opened my eyes the next morning, the house felt unfamiliar, like I was living inside someone else's life. The sound of laughter echoed from the kitchen again. Lena's voice, mixed with Ethan's, soft and cheerful, as if they were a happy couple enjoying breakfast. For a moment, I lay still, staring at the ceiling. Part of me wanted to scream, to tell them to get out of my house. But another part of me, the part that had been broken too many times already, told me to stay calm. Not out of weakness, but out of control. I got up slowly, washed my face, and looked in the mirror. My reflection was tired, but there was something different in my eyes, a sharpness I hadn't seen in years. I wasn't just the waiting wife anymore. I was the woman who had seen the truth. I walked into the kitchen. Ethan looked up awkwardly, guilt flickering across his face. Lena tried to smile. "Morning," I said quietly. "Good morning," she replied. "I made some breakfast. You should eat." Her voice was kind, but I could sense the uneasiness behind it. She was trying too hard to sound normal. Ethan shifted uncomfortably. "Barbara, I was thinking maybe we should talk today. Properly. About everything." I nodded. "Sure. Let's talk." We sat down after breakfast. The boy, whose name I learned was Adam, was playing outside in the yard. I could see him through the window, innocent, carefree, completely unaware of the storm swirling around him. Ethan started. "Barbara, I know you're angry. I don't blame you. But I need you to understand that I never planned any of this. It just happened." "It just happened," I repeated, my voice calm but cooled. "You don't just happen to have a child with someone else, Ethan." He lowered his eyes. "When I was away, I was lonely. Work was hard. Life was empty. Lena was there. She helped me. One mistake led to another, and before I knew it, everything changed." I listened silently, my fingers tracing the edge of my coffee cup. "So while I was here, waiting for you, writing letters, sending gifts, praying for your safety, you were building a whole new family." He rubbed his temples. "Barbara, please, I can't change the past. All I can do is take responsibility now." "And what about me?" I asked quietly. "Where do I fit in your version of responsibility?" He didn't answer. The silence said enough. That evening, I went for a walk alone. The sun was setting, painting the sky with streaks of orange and pink. I thought about everything. The years I'd spent being faithful, the dreams we'd built together, the lies that had replaced them. But as I walked, something unexpected happened. I began to feel stronger. Not less hurt, not less broken, but stronger. Because the truth was, I had survived the worst already. When I returned home, Lena was in the living room folding clothes. She looked nervous as I entered. "Barbara," she said softly, "I want to apologize. I never wanted to hurt you. I know I'm part of the reason your life turned upside down, but please believe me, I didn't know how deep his lies went until it was too late." I studied her face. She wasn't pretending. Her eyes were full of regret. "You love him, don't you?" I asked. She hesitated, then nodded. "I do, but I also see how much he's hurt you. He's torn between us, and I hate it." Her honesty disarmed me. I expected her to be defensive, but she wasn't. She was broken too, just in a different way. That night, Ethan suggested that we all have dinner together. For Adam, he deserves a normal evening. I didn't refuse. I wanted to see how this family functioned. The dinner was quiet at first. Adam was cheerful, asking questions, laughing at small things. Watching him made my heart ache. None of this was his fault. He was innocent, the living proof of two adults' mistakes. At one point, Ethan tried to lighten the mood. "Remember that time we got lost on our honeymoon?" he said with a small laugh. I looked up, meeting his eyes. "Yes, I remember every detail, especially how you said you'd never leave my side." His smile faded instantly. Lena looked down. The silence that followed was unbearable. After dinner, I excused myself and went to the study, Ethan's old room. His briefcase was there. I don't know what pushed me, but something told me to open it. Inside were papers, receipts, and an envelope with my name on it. My hands trembled as I opened it. Inside was a letter. Ethan had written it months ago. Barbara, if you're reading this, it means I still haven't found the courage to tell you the truth. I never wanted to hurt you. When I met Lena, I was lost in a week. I told myself it was temporary, that I'd come back to you once things made sense again. But then Adam was born, and I couldn't walk away. I'm trapped between two lives, the one I built with you and the one I can't abandon. I don't know what the right thing is anymore. Please forgive me. I stared at the letter for a long time. The words blurred as tears filled my eyes again, not because of love, but because of closure. I finally understood that Ethan was never coming back to me. Not truly. Even if he stayed under the same roof, his heart was elsewhere. When I returned home, Lena was in the living room. She had seen the envelope in my hand. "You found it," she said quietly. "Yes." She hesitated. "I told him to tell you the truth. He said he would. I didn't want to come here like this. I thought maybe if you knew, you could both move on." "Move on?" I repeated. "You mean you want me to let you have him?" Her lips trembled. "Not want, need. For Adam, he needs his father. But if you ask him to stay, he will. He still listens to you." For a moment, I looked at her. Really looked at her. The woman who shared my husband's heart. She wasn't my enemy. She was another victim of his indecision. That night, I couldn't sleep again. I lay awake staring into the dark, thinking about everything I heard and seen. My heart was torn between rage and pity, between love and disgust. But then I realized something. Both of them were waiting for me to make the next move, to choose what happened next. And maybe, for the first time in years, I had the power. I got out of bed quietly, walked to the kitchen, and stood by the window, watching the moonlight spill over the empty yard. If Ethan couldn't decide, I would. I wouldn't beg him to stay. I wouldn't fight another woman for his love. Instead, I would take control of my life, on my own terms. Because this wasn't just his story anymore. It was mine, too. As the clock struck midnight, I took a deep breath and made my choice, one that would change everything by morning. The next day, Barbara woke up early, ready to do something neither Ethan nor Lena saw coming. The next morning, sunlight streamed through the curtains, but it felt like a new kind of light. Not warm, not bright, just clear. I had made my decision last night. It wasn't an impulsive choice made from anger or pain. It was the calm decision of a woman who had finally stopped waiting for someone else to value her. When I stepped out of my room, the house was quiet. Lena was feeding Adam, and Ethan was sitting at the table, staring at nothing. He looked exhausted, as if the weight of his two lives had finally caught up with him. "Morning," I said, my voice steady. Ethan looked up, unsure how to respond. "Barbara, can we talk?" I nodded. Yes, we should. Lena was nervous, glancing between us. "I'll take Adam outside for a walk," she said softly. As the door closed behind them, the silence between Ethan and me grew heavier. I sat across from him, folded my hands, and looked directly into his eyes. "Ethan, I read your letter." His face went pale. "I didn't mean for you to find it like that." I raised a hand, stopping him. "It's fine. I understand everything now. You're torn between two lives, and you've been trying to protect both. But by doing that, you destroyed both." He looked down, guilt etched on his face. "Barbara, please, I don't know how to fix this." "You can't. And you don't need to. I'm not asking for explanations anymore. I'm done trying to fix what's already broken. He looked up, startled. What are you saying? I took a deep breath. I'm leaving, Ethan. I've already spoken to a friend who has a small house in the next town. I'll move there for a while. His eyes widened. You're leaving your home? No, I'm leaving our home. The home that no longer feels like mine. He reached across the table. Barbara, don't do this. You've been my life for so long. I can't imagine it without you. I smiled sadly. You already did. For 3 years. His hand dropped back to his lap. The truth hung in the air like a blade neither of us could touch. For a while, neither of us spoke. The ticking of the wall clock filled the silence. Then I stood up and walked toward the cabinet where I kept our photo albums, years of memories we built together. I opened one, flipped through the pages, and saw the smiles, the promises, the moments that once meant everything. I closed it gently and handed it to him. Keep this. You'll need it more than I do, to remind you of what honesty used to look like. He took the album, his hands trembling. Barbara, please, I don't want you to hate me. I don't, I said softly. Hatred would mean I still care enough to destroy you. But I don't want to destroy anyone. I just want peace. He looked at me helplessly. The man I once loved, now just a stranger sitting in my kitchen. Before I could say another word, the front door opened. Barbara came in with Adam, his tiny hands holding a dandelion. He ran toward me, smiling, and said, Look, for you! For a moment, my heart softened. I knelt down and took the flower. Thank you, sweetheart. It's beautiful. He grinned, proud of himself, and ran off to his toys. Lena stood quietly, sensing the tension. Should I come back later? No, I said. You should hear this too. Ethan frowned. Barbara. It's okay, I interrupted gently. You both deserve to know. I turned to Lena. You love him. I can see that. And he loves his son. That's something I could never take away, even if I wanted to. But love built on lies doesn't survive long. So if you're going to stay with him, make sure you build something honest this time. Lena's eyes filled with tears. I will. I promise. I nodded, calm but firm. And you, Ethan, I wish you nothing bad, truly. But I also hope you never forget this feeling, the moment when you realized you lost someone who loved you without conditions. That memory should remind you what truth is worth. He swallowed hard, his voice breaking. Barbara, I don't know how to say goodbye. I whispered, You already did. The day you chose silence over honesty. I walked past him, grabbed my small suitcase from the hallway, and stopped at the door. Lena whispered, Barbara, where will you go? I smiled faintly. Somewhere I can start again. Somewhere my name doesn't echo with his lies. As I stepped outside, the cold air brushed against my skin, but it felt different, freeing. For the first time in years, I was walking towards something that belonged entirely to me. I didn't look back. I couldn't, because looking back meant staying trapped in the same circle of pain, and I was done spinning. I reached the end of the street when I heard small footsteps behind me. I turned and saw Ethan running after me, holding something in his hand. My wedding ring. Barbara, wait, he called out. You forgot this. I looked at the ring in his palm, the symbol of everything we once were. I took it gently, then closed his hand over it. No, Ethan, you keep it. It'll remind you that promises mean nothing if you don't honor them. He stood there speechless, watching me walk away. As I reached the main road, a strange peace washed over me. I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't broken. I was just free. I took a bus to the next town, small, quiet, peaceful, the kind of place where no one knew my story. I found a tiny house near the lake, surrounded by trees and birds instead of memories and regret. The first few nights were hard. The silence was loud. I kept expecting a phone call, a message, some apology that might pull me back, but it never came. And that was okay. One evening, as the sun dipped behind the hills, I stood by the water, watching the reflection of the fading light. The air smelled fresh, untouched by the past. I pulled out my phone and opened the Notes app, the same one I used to write letters to Ethan when he was away. But this time, I started writing something different. "Dear me," I typed, "you survived the worst day of your life and came out stronger. You loved deeply, lost painfully, but you learned that peace is worth more than any promise. You are not a victim. You are a survivor." I saved the note and smiled. For the first time, I felt proud. Proud of my scars, my choices, my strength. Weeks passed. One afternoon, I received a small envelope in the mail. It had no return address. Inside was a photograph. Ethan, Lena, and Adam standing in front of my old house. On the back, Ethan had written only 3 words. "I'm sorry, always." I stared at it for a while, then set it down on the table. I didn't cry this time. I just whispered, "I forgive you," and let the wind carry the words away through the open window. That night, I sat by the lake under the stars, feeling the cool breeze against my face. For years, I had been waiting for Ethan to come home, but now I realized I was finally home. Because home isn't a place or a person. It's the peace you build inside yourself after surviving the storm.